Luigi Mangione, breaking news, has all the ladies dropping their panties.
He's guilty or not will be decided by a trial, but one thing we know for certain, Mangione is making everyone manja-horny, manja-horny, manja-horny.
And Lily, I know you were inside that courtroom today with the suspect. How was he behaving?
Nora, it was remarkable. He walked in confident. At times he seemed defiant. He was looking around. He kept looking back. And a couple of times I felt like he was making eye contact.
He looked at me. He saw me. We had a moment. And Nora, I'm getting new reports just now that I can change him.
Yes, you can change him. Absolutely. Well, what is happening in this world? All the ladies are going gaga for Luigi Mangione all over social media. What is doing, folks? I can't believe this mess is happening in this world, that he is the sexy hot killer. What's doing? It's complete madness. Absolute complete madness, folks. Well, today's episode, we're going to do a bit of comedy. Got to start off with a bit of comedy. We're going to look at all the ladies going gaga all over social media, on the TV about this man. Then after that, we're going to take a more serious side, and we're going to look at the likes of what's happening with, where was he for 3 months? He just disappeared out of thin air. Is he a cold-blooded murderer, or is he a hero? Look at what the health sector is happening in America. If this was justice, some people were saying. It's all madness, and at the end, we'll look to try and wrap up all this madness and see, was Mangione brainwashed into doing this, or was there something else at play? But anyway, let's get to it. Let's roll the tape and see what all this madness is happening with all these ladies out here going gaga over Luigi.
To the fetishization of another 26-year-old, Luigi Mangione. Mangione is the alleged, quote, hot assassin charged with the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, a father of two. I can't help but think about those poor kids who've lost their father in an utterly senseless, cold-blooded crime when I see things like this.
This Ivy League hottie named Luigi is the Robin Hood that we never knew that we needed.
I listened to Luigi's manifesto this morning 3 times and I cried. Honestly, it's beautiful and I agree with him.
At least he left a very powerful message, and he highlighted how terrible the healthcare system is in America. I think he'll go down as a hero in history.
See, in the warped world of TikTok, a handsome villain is a hero, not a vigilante. Then again, the victim here is a middle-aged white executive, the CEO of the largest health insurer in the US, the very embodiment, many on the left would have us believe, of corporate greed and the failings of the country's healthcare system. It's sick. It's sick. It's sick. And Senator Elizabeth Warren appeared to be auditioning for Mangione's defense team in this performance.
But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
It's amazing what a six-pack will allow some of these women to excuse. A CNN host went so far as to ask for on-screen graphics to be dropped during a broadcast so viewers could get a better look at Mangione's abs.
So much of the clips we were watching at the top of this segment are driven by the fact that this is an attractive
we got to drop the banner.
Assassin Luigi Mangione has got women and gay guys alike all hot and bothered.
Show support for an accused killer spotted in Riverside. A makeshift billboard says, "Free Luigi Mangione. He's a hero." Public defense of the suspect has erupted online, and now we're seeing it here in Southern California.
Free Mangione. Yes, this is what this world has come to, that this guy is innocent. Absolute madness. He is a cold-blooded killer. That's all I can say right here, folks. He's a cold-blooded killer, in my opinion. Even if you don't agree with what the healthcare system is happening in the company itself, what it's doing, Brian Thompson didn't deserve to be murdered. Simple as that. Very much a sad state of affairs when you have that going on. But I thought we would have a look now at what Piers Morgan and his group of people had to say. And there was one lady indeed that was thirsting for more of Luigi.
Let me confront that, first off, which is, it shouldn't need to be confronted. It's disgusting. If you celebrate the death of an executive from a company whose policies you don't agree with, you're just disgusting. You're inhumane. If you lack any empathy and are proud of that, or you feel joyful, you are inhumane. It is wrong. I don't care who it is, what political divide they come from, what the policies are. You don't execute people in the street, and you don't get celebrated when you do that. I agree. But secondly, Clay, I would say this. This extraordinary phenomenon of so many liberal women brazenly talking about the hot assassin as if somehow the fact that he was good-looking in some way is the most important aspect of this.
The idea that he's a hot assassin is bonkers to me, Piers. That this would take off as it has is utterly ridiculous.
But you're seeing this outrage and sometimes kind of performative thirsting.
Yes, you were thirsting over Luigi, weren't you? Yes, indeed. But let's get back to the seriousness of the health care system in America, according to this lady.
For the shooter is exactly because 68,000 people every year in the United States of America die because people like Brian Thompson, who run companies like United Healthcare, deny insurance claims that could have saved the lives of their loved ones. So many such words, passions, empathy was directed in that direction, but Brian Thompson's actual crimes of having a direct connection to mass death and suffering for tens of thousands of Americans on a yearly basis.
Well, hang on, you said
I
crimes.
think it's going under-examined.
Okay, you said crimes. What was
Denying...
What was the crime? What was the crime? What was the crime?
Piers Morgan, you crack me up. What is the crime, lady? Yes, exactly. What is the crime? Well, if you argue the healthcare system, if you believe in what whose story saying that 10,000 American claims denied, absolutely outlandish, is it true, and leading to early deaths of people, of innocent people, or is there more to be done? Can these people have been saved? She does bring up a really good point, to be honest. That corporate greed. So are they more worried about profits than saving people's lives? And the honest truth is yes. That's what the shareholders only care about. They don't care about down the bottom, unless it's their own family. Let's get it. Don't get it twisted. But we have to look at the other side, folks. You've got to look at the other side of the equation. How many bogus claims have been put out there, people pretending to be injured and not, and trying to get off work and all this rubbish. I would say 50% of those claims at least will be absolutely bogus claims, not big demand. And the other 50%, so the 50,000 people out there, is probably how much health insurance they got. Let's get it twisted. About 90% of the current market out there would go for the cheapest premium that gives you only basic cover. And what it means is when you really need it most, some more of the expensive surgeries and that, you're not covered, and that's where you lose out because you got to pay $200,000 and you can't afford it. So that's why you got to read the fine print before you sign any health insurance. That's what I need to say for those people out there that think that the world is as we know it. You got to make sure you have the higher premium. Well, as we move on here, I think we need to move on and go to a more serious part of the show here. So we've looked at the comedic side, this Luigi, this hot assassin, some funny takes out of that, but we got to get down to the nitty gritty. What was this guy doing in the final months before this murder? Is he a cold-blooded murderer, or was he brainwashed? Well, we're going to look at Patrick Bet-David's podcast, as well as some of the news on the TV about what was happening in his final moments. And then I'll come back and discuss this after what I think. Was he brainwashed? Is he a cold-blooded murderer? Let's find out right here, right now.
Still so many other questions that remain unanswered. Notably, Jennifer, where was he this past 6 months? He vanished, according to family and friends. What was he doing? How is he supporting himself? We are just learning in an article that was just posted that he was in Japan in April and that was the last time anyone heard from him. Jennifer, you get a real sense in this emerging picture of what a life of privilege he led. Mangione, while coping with some terrible physical symptoms, quit his job last year and told a friend of his that while the job paid him well, it was, quote, mind-numbingly boring, and he wanted to spend more time doing yoga and reading. I think a lot of people in America might want more time to do that, but we can't afford it.
Yeah, and traveling and everything else he did.
Continuing on that track, you know, there are reports now from members of this book club that he started in Hawaii that the members grew disillusioned when he said he wanted everyone to read the writings of Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Again, that radicalization and that you're beginning, a picture's coming into focus. It wasn't a sudden thing. It looks like a gradual descent.
Oh my God! That's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and lived experience.
Of the American people and their lived experience.
And their lived experience.
Yes.
Right. And their lived experience. So I got something here yesterday that was sent to me that I was reading on timeline of what happened here. Okay. So story says, born into a wealthy family, attends a $40,000 a year private school, becomes valedictorian, earns a bachelor's and master's in computer science by 26, no criminal record, no behavior red flags, clean slate, sharp-dressed, photogenic, active on social media, vacations abroad, post-polished photos, looks like he's thriving, lands internship and builds a resume that screams success, joins the professional world, follows the system scripts perfectly, no sign of instability, just another rising star in tech scene, disappears with friends for 3 months, then he kills the CEO. What happened for those 3 months? Who are the friends? What do we know about him? Now, while this is going on, 50 Cent posted something. I don't know. I kind of like this killer. I'm sorry that this is going this way since deleted the post. Makes sense. I'm sorry this is going this way. It is, but I'm doing a documentary on him. He is special. I apologize in advance for anyone who doesn't understand. 50 Cent said this about the guy. So, Vinny, what do you know so far about what's going on since the last podcast?
And you mentioned this yesterday. It doesn't make any sense. Like I keep hearing these stories. Every time something like this happens, I take a step back. Like when you say, follow the money, sometimes I'm like, what is happening? What makes somebody do something like this, and it came out of nowhere, and it's a complete shock to everybody. In the book Chaos, remember the book Chaos that Candace told me to recommended by Tom O'Neill? Pat, it was talked about the CIA, Charles Manson, and all the 60s and what they were doing back in those days. There was a psychiatrist, and for those that have read the book, who spoke to Jack Ruby. Remember the guy that shot Lee Harvey Oswald in the basement?
Of course. Yeah.
So his name was Dr. Louis Jolyon Jolly West. His name was Dr. Jolly West. He was a prominent psychiatrist with documented ties to the CIA's MK Ultra program. He was focused on mind control experiments. They used drugs, they used psychological manipulation and other techniques. So while Ruby's in prison, this Dr. West, who has connections with the CIA, examined Ruby for several hours by himself, no cameras, no nothing, just talking to him in the prison. And when he was done with him, he had lost his mind. He had lost his mind. He had lost his mind. He was saying stuff like, I was injected with something, I'm being silenced. He was like a completely different person. He's like, they're going to kill the Jew. Like he lost his gourd. Okay. And once he left that several hour meeting, his mental state deteriorated and it led to his death. So my thing is, and great point, who was talking to this guy? Who and why? Is it a distraction? Was this guy unleashed to do whatever he was going to do because of all the stuff that's happening in Syria, stuff that's happening with Jay-Z? I don't know. It just doesn't add up. And all this is going to be is in the news for another week, Pat, and then it's gone. And then we don't hear about this guy. But the explanation, I would like to get deep. It's 3 months that he was gone. Who got to him? Who spoke with him? Who radicalized him so much? He's saying,
could somebody have taken him during those 90 days to shape his mindset to do something like this?
Yep, I agree, and I'll tell you why. There was deep investigations. You can go look at the London subway bombings. What's that, 12 years ago now? Something like that? The London subway bombings. And you can go find out what they found out about the radical Muslim clerics. And people said that, yes, I'm a Muslim, but we're peaceful Muslims. This is what we care about. But my son was with these clerics, and it didn't take long. To your point, Pat, what happens those 90 days?
That's what I'm
interested in. People said, confused Muslim parents, that when you listen to them speak, they didn't seem like, out there. It sounded like that Muslim was their faith, but they were not radicalized, and they were shocked at what had happened at the hands of these clerics in such a short time with their kids. So there are precedents we have out there to say, wow, something can happen pretty quick if people that know what they're doing get to your kid and you get to a person and turn them into a pawn.
Well, what do you think at home? Is he a cold-blooded murderer, or did he get brainwashed by people higher up who want to get rid of the United Health States CEO, health CEO? That's the biggest question around this. Do you think this was the motive? People trying to kill people in America to get back for something else in the past? It's really an interesting point of view. Are the American people sick of what's been happening in the health sector, and this has been celebrated by the hero? He is the hero. This is what the argument is, that he's actually doing us a justice. He is the Batman of the crime scene. But if you want to put it straight down to me, the other thing to look at is, was there a vendetta around this case? Potentially there was a vendetta. He had believed to be back issues, folks. Yes, he believed to have had some back issues. So I thought we better check out this tape around the back issues, potentially what held him up, and maybe made him go crazy with the healthcare sector. Let's look at what this doctor had to say about the potential injury he had.
As it has been widely reported today, the healthcare CEO suspected shooter suffered from debilitating back pain. The owner of Luigi Mangione's former apartment in Honolulu told the Associated Press that it stemmed from an apparent pinched nerve, which he'd had for years. Let's bring in an expert to discuss this, Dr. Christopher Good. He's a spine surgeon, president and CEO of VSI, to talk about the impact this could have had on Luigi Mangione. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Good, explain to our viewers what this condition is that the suspect had as a child. I believe it's called spondylolisthesis. What is that, and how does that impact someone's life?
Sure. So spondylolisthesis is a potential reason for someone to have a spine fusion at a young age. In our spine, our low back, our vertebrae are stacked one on top of the other with the discs, the cushions between. And if somebody gets a stress fracture or a break, one bone can start to slide back and forth, becoming unstable. And as the bones move back and forth, that can trigger back pain. Or if it pinches the nerves in between the bones, that can trigger pain where the nerves come out of the spine and travel down the legs. Things like pain, numbness, and weakness. And while this will commonly start in people at a young age, like a teenager, the time at which it actually becomes, a symptom or a problem can vary from teenage all the way to much later in life. But if someone develops this instability and slippage, triggering back problems and pinched nerves, then one potential treatment can be a spinal fusion. And that involves literally using implants, screws or rods or cages to hold the bones in position, and bone graft to literally weld those bones together so that they no longer slip and slide and pinch things.
I know that the suspect in this case had posted an image of an X-ray with those screws in it, so we're kind of extrapolating here. But how can debilitating pain impact someone's mental state? Can you talk about that? I know you treat patients with this kind of pain and these issues.
Sure. So, failed back syndrome or a failed spinal fusion can actually result from a couple of different problems. And I can't specifically comment on Mr. Mangione's for sure, but if someone has implants put in, we're waiting for bone graft to weld the bones together. And if those bones don't mend properly over time, slippage can start to develop, screws can get loose, things can get repinched. And this is one common reason for someone to have a failed spinal fusion. And so in a situation like that, it can be a huge range of symptoms, from really not feeling bad at all to horrible back pain, nerve pain, and left untreated and not treated properly, that can really become a very chronic, disabling condition.
Okay, folks, let's get to the gist of this. Did this guy look like he had a back injury? He was walking around Manhattan, he was cruising around Manhattan, riding a bike, cruising along, He was through Central Park. He got on Greyhound, went to numerous places, went to a hostel, chatting up the receptionist, going to McDonald's, having a feed. He could have had a back injury, but it wasn't that severe that he couldn't walk around. He was not in a wheelchair or any of that rubbish. So to put it that the healthcare system let him down for that reason, I don't think that was the answer. I just think this guy was cold-blooded murderer. Absolutely, in my opinion. Doesn't mean he couldn't have got brainwashed. He potentially could have got brainwashed, but I think this guy was playing this for a while. And whether he hated the corporate greed, obviously there's talk about that in his book, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe there's something around the COVID situation as well, and then lockdown. A lot of people went crazy after that. I believe people have gone crazy since their lockdown period and got used to staying at home and wanted to stay at home and can't go back to work, and there've been other issues over that. I just think this was something he planned for a long time, and it's real sad that it happened. Really, an innocent person at the end of the day got murdered just because he was the CEO of a particular company at the time, and he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Some people are arguing, should he have had security? Well, you can say that, but you can have security and get done by your own security guards, by someone else paying you out. So it doesn't really matter what you do. But getting back to this, Luigi Mangione, is he the hottest assassin out there? Well, that's up for you to debate. People would have said Jack the Ripper and the likes, and there would have been people before Ted Bundy. Some people think Charles Manson. So put it into wherever you think this realm is. Luigi Mangione, the hot assassin. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit of comedy put in with some seriousness about what's actually happening in this world at the moment. Craziness shouldn't have happened, and to say that blame the health sector for why this happened and that he should be a hero, hell no, he's not a hero. He's a absolute killer. Deserves to rot in jail for the rest of his life if he's not injected. But thank you so much for joining me here at Barry Charles News. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll have more videos on this channel just for you.